Hello, everybody, and welcome to NNSCRA Talks Wrestling. Today, we're going to be talking about the Raw episode that went down this past Monday night on the 4th of April 2016, the night after WrestleMania. So, the night started off a little strange for me, especially based on the events that had taken place the following night at WrestleMania. Shane McMahon, who was in the fight with The Undertaker, his opportunity to run Monday Night Raw on the line. If he lost, he wasn't going to get to run Monday Night Raw. He lost to The Undertaker inside Hell in a Cell. So he comes out. He, does a promo, says, I didn't get the job done, I'm sorry, and he gets ready to walk out. So, so he lost. He's not going to run Monday Night Raw. All of a sudden, Mr. McMahon comes out. He says, you're not going to upstage me like that, and he puts Shane McMahon in charge of Monday Night Raw. So this would lead me to believe, based off in the previous episode when I was talking with Levi Thrashmania 899, I believe Shane McMahon came back to help put The Undertaker over at WrestleMania, and then he now is going to be in charge of Monday Night Raw, but they didn't make the transition very well. I think the original plan was Undertaker was going to win at WrestleMania. Shane McMahon, regardless of what happened, was going to run Monday Night Raw. But they didn't exactly do a very good transition as far as I'm concerned. They could have done a little bit better. It ended up being that the fans were chanting, let him run it. And Vince McMahon then says, all right, let's see what you can do. And I guess that was it. Shane McMahon's in charge of Monday Night Raw. Temporarily. All this big feud about, Mr. McMahon saying to The Undertaker, you better beat Shane McMahon. I'm disowning my son. And then he turns around, and with the chant of a crowd, he changes his mind and puts Shane McMahon temporarily in charge of Monday Night Raw. There was too much inconsistency. It didn't fit well. It happened. We knew it was going to happen, but the transition was horrible. The writing on that was terrible. And I ended up seeing the social media blowing up saying, oh my goodness, Vince McMahon actually listened to the fans. Well, the fact of the matter is it was already scripted before WrestleMania that Shane McMahon was going to be in charge of the following Monday Night Raw. That was a given. So just because the fans ended up saying that doesn't mean that they were the ones that controlled Vince McMahon ad-libbing and saying, all right, go ahead. It was going to happen. All right, so we start off the evening with the New Day defending their tag team titles against a half, I guess you could say, 50% of the League of Nations. Two former King of the Rings, King Barrett and Sheamus. So basically, the League of Nations getting the tag team title shot because of their victory over the New Day the previous night at WrestleMania. And it ends up being the New Day do retain the titles. By the way, New Day, one of the best ad-lib promo groups I've seen in a long, long time. They are hilarious. The stuff they come up with has to be off the top of their heads, and I normally don't laugh at that kind of corny stuff, but I got to admit, with stuff that they did that Monday night, really, it made me chuckle. So they end up winning. The guy that got pinned was Wade Barrett, and so therefore Sheamus afterwards states, all right, we've got to take out our weakest link. Ends up being Wade Barrett. So Alberto Del Rio Rusev, they hold Wade Barrett. Sheamus bro kicks him, and boom. The League of Nations was 4, is now 3. Well, wait a minute. Isn't there another faction that used to be 4 and are now 3, but somebody had an injury? That's right, the Wyatt family. And they come down and they attack the remaining 3 members of the League of Nations. So we're going to have the Wyatt family and the League of Nations battling at some point. The big question is, what if Luke Harper gets healthy and the League of Nations feud is still going on? Is there going to be a new member into the League of Nations? If so, who could that be? I have no earthly idea. Anyway, moving on to the next matchup, Sasha Banks versus Summer Rae. Now, if you remember in the WrestleMania wrap-up, I said there were about 3-4 matchups they could have completely done away with, and it would have been an okay show. This was a matchup that really didn't need to happen. But the reason it happened was because of the fans. The fans were wanting Sasha Banks to win the Now, women's championship at WrestleMania, it didn't happen. Well, a number of the people who were at WrestleMania ended up being at the follow-up show of Monday Night Raw. They had to have Sasha Banks make an appearance and get a victory to make the fans happy. Like I said, Sasha Banks gets the victory, defeats Summer Rae in a very quick matchup. We knew it was going to be quick. Next up, Apollo Crews makes his debut on Monday Night Raw. The high-flying, powerful Apollo Crews, maybe one of the most athletic big guys I've ever seen, takes on Tyler Breeze. No big surprise there. Both of them know each other very well. They fought each other, had a good rivalry in NXT. So, Apollo Crews makes his debut. We get to see what he's able to bring to the table, even though we've already seen it numerous times down in NXT. And he defeats Tyler Breeze fairly easily. Where's Apollo Crews going after this? Well, I don't know. Apollo Crews I can maybe see going after someone like The Miz, maybe for the Intercontinental title. We'll get to that. Maybe United States Championship. The only problem with the United States Championship, and I believe a friend of mine alluded to this in one of their reviews, is if he beats Kalisto, where's the difference between him losing it to Apollo Crews or him losing it to Ryback this past week at WrestleMania? It's still going to be a big guy versus a Lucha Libre guy. Now, given Apollo Crews is much more flexible, he's more of a high flyer than Ryback could ever hope to be, but still seems like a bit of a mismatch, but we'll see. We'll see where Apollo Crews heads after this. Next up, the dawn of the Roman Empire. Roman Reigns promo, championship celebration. Spare me. No. I don't know if any of you if you saw the Today Show when Roman Reigns and Charlotte, the night after WrestleMania, or the morning after WrestleMania, they flew up to New York and they were interviewed on the Today Show. Roman Reigns, he can't cut a promo in the ring. He can't do an interview in a studio. It's horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. I mean, give the guy a script to read off of. He'd be a little bit more entertaining. He is such a boring speaker. Anyway, Roman Reigns comes out, and in typical John Cena-esque fashion, he says, if anybody wants this title, come and get it. Well, that says to me, okay, Triple H, that's it. He's no longer going to be battling for the title. He's not going to be going into his rematch clause, apparently, because otherwise it would have been Triple H that would have come out and probably said something. Instead, we got 4 competitors that come out. Chris Jericho, AJ Styles, 2 competitors that fought against each other at WrestleMania. And then Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, 2 people who we know for certain we're going to be seeing a feud lit up and happening for the next few weeks. So, those 4 come out. They end up getting into a fight with each other. Shane McMahon makes a general manager decision. It's going to be those 4, Zayn, Owens, Jericho, and Styles, all going against each other in a fatal 4-way number 1 contenders match. Good call. Saw it coming, but good call. So now we're left with 2 scenarios. 1, either Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn wins, that rivalry's put aside on the back burner for now. 2, either AJ Styles, Chris Jericho wins, and that rivalry is put aside on the back burner. Which one's been going on the longest? Obviously Jericho Styles, so hopefully that's going to be the feud that ends. They've already had a trifecta of matches. Jericho, 2 wins, Styles, 1. We move on to the next matchup, Baron Corbin, who won the previous night, the Honor of the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, taking on the jobber, Dolph Ziggler. You know, you see Dolph Ziggler coming out, instant loser. Instantly going to be the loser. So, it ends up being a double count out, with both of them out in the crowd when the referee's count reaches 10. Baron Corbin gets very upset, says this is on you to the referee, and hits the end of days on Dolph Ziggler on the outside. So, we're seeing an aggressive style, don't care what happens kind of wrestler from NXT moving up onto the main roster. That could be very interesting. I would be very interested to see where they put Baron Corbin in all of this. I'm seeing a potential matchup with Kane. I don't know why, but it just seems like why would they have had him and Kane be the last 2 in the Battle Royal unless Kane was the favorite, and while Kane gets eliminated by this upstart coming from NXT, maybe that was the reason. But just based on the persona, end of days, lone wolf kind of thing that Baron Corbin brings, maybe going up against somebody like Kane, the two personas fairly similar, eerily similar, maybe. We'll see. Next up, the highlight of the night. This took me back to the Attitude Era. And believe it or not, this is maybe, to me, the best piece of writing I have seen in a matchup between two mid-carders, believe it or not, in maybe the last few months. Zack Ryder comes out celebrating that he won the Intercontinental title in that 7-man ladder match at WrestleMania. His dad's out there. He's thanking his dad for taking him to Madison Square Garden, for taking him to these wrestling matches, for supporting him, blah, blah, blah. The Miz comes out, says to him, I was fingertips away, I had my hand on the belt, you pushed me off. If you're so confident, give me a shot at that Intercontinental title tonight. Zack Ryder, well, I don't really know if I want to do that. I don't have anything to prove. Oh, then you're a coward. Okay, fine, let's do this. Okay, so we have ourselves a title match one night after WrestleMania for one of the, and I'm not meaning this derogatory in any way, but one of the lower belts. Okay, so looking Attitude Era-esque. Ends up being that the two of them are on the outside of the ring. The matchup went on for quite a while, too. I think it went into 2 commercial breaks. So they go to the outside. The Miz starts mouthing off to Zack Ryder's father. Zack Ryder's father hits The Miz, and then, out of nowhere, here comes Maryse, The Miz's wife. Maryse makes her return back to WWE. Now, is she back as a wrestler? Is she back as a manager? Did she just make an appearance there to help her husband get the title? I don't know, but I just spoiled it. Yes, The Miz is able to then hit the skull-crushing finale on Zack Ryder. Within 48 hours, we've got ourselves 2 new Intercontinental Champions. Zack Ryder at WrestleMania, the following night, Monday Night Raw, The Miz. Wow. Okay. WWE, you did it. You did it. You took a match where it looked like it was going to very simply be Zack Ryder retaining the title, and you threw us a major curveball. Thank you. You finally are figuring it out. We need more of that week after week. The question about Maryse, is she coming back as a manager? Are we going to see her outside the ring when Miz is defending his now Intercontinental title? Are we going to see her back in the ring as a women's wrestler? I don't know. I don't know what that whole scenario is going to be, but it's going to be very interesting to see. I don't know if we're going to be able to find out on SmackDown. More than likely, we're going to find out next week on Monday Night Raw. Next up is the Women's Championship presentation. Charlotte getting presented the belt by former Women's Champion Lita and Hall of Famer. All the other divas down, or I should say all the other women now. I'm going to keep saying divas for the next few weeks. I know it. All the other women wrestlers down in the ring for the presentation. Sasha and Becky both there. Kind of blah. They had no facial expressions whatsoever. Maybe disdain. I don't know. This didn't exactly end the way that I thought, and I'll give you what my scenario of what I thought was going to happen is after I tell you what actually happens. Charlotte gets presented the belt and gives all the credit to her father. Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, all of them get disgusted with that. They leave the ring. They walk out on Charlotte, except one, Natalya. Really? Natalya? Okay. So Natalya gets in the ring, starts talking about respect, how Charlotte doesn't respect the other divas and everything, and then we get to have a good old Flair versus Hart rivalry with Charlotte insulting Natalya and the entire Hart family. Yeah. Natalya tries putting the sharpshooter on Charlotte. Charlotte escapes with the help of her father. Okay. Here's what I thought was going to happen. I thought that because at NXT TakeOver, Bayley lost the Women's Championship to Asuka, I thought, okay, this is the perfect opportunity now for Bayley to work her way now up to the main roster. Is she going to come out and she going to be the challenger for Charlotte's title? Apparently not. I thought this would be the perfect opportunity because what I don't understand is you've got Charlotte, Bayley, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, who were the four horsewomen. Three of them are up on the main roster. Three of them have already made an appearance at WrestleMania, and Bayley is still down in NXT? I mean, we've seen her match up with Asuka. We've seen her match up a few months ago against Sasha Banks, that Iron Women match. Is she not ready to come up to the main roster? What's the wait? This would have been a perfect opportunity for Bayley to come up, I thought, and then let Asuka be the number one woman down in NXT. So I don't know. I don't understand that. I don't know why Bayley didn't come up yet, but she didn't. All right, next up is the Dudleys versus the Usos in a tables match. You couldn't have it at WrestleMania, but you can have it the following night on Monday Night Raw. Okay. Basically the same kind of a matchup that we saw at WrestleMania, except we saw tables during the match instead of after the match, and the Dudley Boys end up winning. Of course, it's a tables match. But then they finally make their debut. Enzo and Cass make their debut. However, it kind of surprises me that they're going to be making their debut taking on the Dudley Boys. I could have thrown you out a couple of other tag teams that we might have seen them going up against before the Dudley Boys. The League of Nations would have maybe been one. The Usos, maybe. But I kind of expected that maybe the first tag team that they would go up against would have been two members of the Social Outcasts. But apparently not. So Enzo and Cass, they make their debut. They challenge the Dudley Boys. Apparently we're going to see a matchup maybe on SmackDown between Enzo, Cass, and the Dudleys. And then, last but not least, our number one contenders fatal four-way matchup. AJ Styles, Chris Jericho, that feud. And then Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, that feud. Except one problem. Sami Zayn gets attacked before that matchup during an interview with Renee Young by Kevin Owens. Gets taken out, is not going to be in the matchup. So it looks like it's going to be a triple threat matchup. Shane McMahon to the rescue says no, it's still going to be a fatal four-way matchup. I've got another person that will fill in Sami Zayn's spot with the returning Antonio Cesaro. Can you believe it? Cesaro is back. He couldn't make his return at WrestleMania, but he's here on Monday Night Raw. That's okay. I don't mind that. So, Styles, Owens, Jericho, and now Cesaro for a number one contenders match for Roman Reigns' WWE World Heavyweight Championship. In the end, it was a great matchup, and AJ Styles wins. Now, what this did was this took and gave two questions very easy answers. Actually, three questions, very easy answers. Number one, why did Chris Jericho beat AJ Styles at WrestleMania when he had lost to Fandango a few WrestleManias before? My answer to that, more than likely because Chris Jericho is probably not going to be wrestling in a WrestleMania again. This is his way of going out with a victory. AJ Styles loses, but he's now the number one contender the following night for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, so he can afford a loss at WrestleMania. We're more than likely going to see him at WrestleMania next year. Next thing that it answers is Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. That rivalry obviously is going to continue. And the third thing it answers is obviously the rivalry between Chris Jericho and AJ Styles has come finally to an end after their trifecta of matchups. So that answered three things. Now, the question of do I think AJ Styles versus Roman Reigns is a good pairing for the title? I do. The only thing that I'm wondering about is AJ Styles. To be perfectly honest, he plays the heel role a lot better than he plays the face role. And AJ Styles, I think, coming into the WWE and all that, I can maybe see him as being the Seth Rollins, if you will, of the Authority. I can see the Authority getting to him, offering him an opportunity to be the face of the company kind of thing, and being Triple H's man to go out and try and take the title away from Roman Reigns. I can see AJ Styles being a member of the Authority. He plays the heel role really well. If you didn't see when he played the heel role in TNA, he's really, really good at it. And so I can definitely see him turning heel against Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns unfortunately would still be face. If they could switch Roman Reigns to heel as well and have two heels going for the title, that would be great. But here's the problem. Roman Reigns, after he left the Shield, took on the face role, and I think that they put him in the face role too much, that now the fans aren't going to find him believable if he goes into the heel role. He is kind of stuck, kind of like John Cena is. Cena, he's played the face so much that now if he goes into the heel role, he's not going to carry it off as well. People are going to be like, okay, this, he's trying, but he's not succeeding. I think that'd be the same thing with Roman Reigns. So I think Roman Reigns is going to be stuck now with playing the face role, and he doesn't carry it off well. I'm not exactly sure he'd carry off the heel role that well either. I mean, if you think about it, back in the Shield, it was Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins who basically did a lot of the verbal, which, carried them off as the heel group. All Roman Reigns basically did was destroy people. That was basically his role. He wasn't really there to in any way add to the persona of a heel faction for the Shield verbally. So, I can see it being AJ Styles heel, Roman Reigns face, battling for the title, and I can see AJ Styles being one of the members of the Authority in the near future. So that's what my take is on it. Where they're going to have this title match, I don't know, probably the next pay-per-view. But it'll be interesting to see how they end up, building that up and what happens in the meantime. So anyway, that is the review for this past Monday Night Raw. Next up on for this series is going to be the SmackDown summary. So that will be coming out either on Friday or Saturday. Don't know which one. I know that these two videos came out quite a couple of days after the WrestleMania and Raw. Of course, that's just due to time restrictions, but I'm not able to usually get videos out like 2-3 hours after the event takes place. So there you go. So anyway, thanks guys for tuning in. Next time we'll be doing the SmackDown summary. I may have some guests in here for that one, so be sure to stay tuned. Thank you all so much for watching, and again, I'll see you guys next time. I'm out.